What's going on YouTube? So right now I'm analyzing the market, just waiting for opening bell um, to happen. So that takes place at 9:30. See what the market is going to be presenting us. So just to talk about what has happened, this week before we get into today, we can see that the market has, well, when I say the market, I'm specifically talking about indices, that they have been on like a bullish tear. So yesterday we started basically, what's the word I want to say? Stalling. I don't know why I couldn't think about that. Started stalling out around for US 30 around 47,500, 47,500. This was our buy area. Now, what I initially thought, or what I was preparing myself for, because like you got to give yourself room for error, is after we made this move, because I wasn't expecting this move to be as aggressive as it was. If you remember, this bull move came out of the Sydney session, the Sydney and Tokyo session. So very surprising that a New York session dominant currency pair um, had momentum during like a currency pair. I mean, during a session where the market isn't really like having strong momentum. So right now we're just, kind of waiting for a price to kind of settle. And I'm still looking at this as a buy zone, but since we were like aggressive out of this area, which it did ended up creating a gap on Tuesday, I'm kind of hesitant on like seeing where the buy zone is going to be. So I do think that this is the buy zone, but because we never pulled back to these lower levels, opening bell could definitely bring us down to test this candle or to fill this gap like a percentage. So that's basically what we're waiting on right now. And you can see the same thing going on between S&P. This was our buy zone. NASDAQ. I didn't really have a buy zone for NASDAQ, but I will say this was the area where the price we were looking to buy at, which was 24,432. So what it looks like is that what we had yesterday is what we normally see with the Asian session, is that it starts consolidating the market, right? And then by the time we get into either London or New York, then you have some type of momentum. That's what it looks like the market has been doing since the close yesterday. Well, since the reset yesterday, is that it's been basically consolidating, chopping down, and then pushing us back into this buy zone to buy back up. So like I said, I'm just waiting for opening bell, and not to mention we have a lot of other news that's taking place today that could cause a reaction in the market. So for my traders, you know how this go. If you're new, you're probably like, man, the market is kind of like all over the place. I don't think so. It's just definitely the war is bringing a lot of mixed views and inconsistency. Remember, we talked about this. We talked about how like from point A to point B, like the move is solidified. So let's say this is point A, for example. So we're looking for it to buy up probably back to 50K. So let's say that that's point B. But anywhere in between, this is point A and point B being 50K, right? The market can do whatever. You know what I'm saying? This is the move that, is carrying you up. So we shouldn't have to have like fear that the market's going to come all the way back down here. But you know what I'm saying? You have to be open-minded that in between, you taking your positions, that the market can throw whatever it wants at you within reason. You know what I'm saying? There's a law and a foundation that the market lives by. So it normally doesn't break that.
Free. Plus, get your biggest refund. Roughly 30.
So you see, this is the area actually I was buying up from, which is in my buy zone. So we're currently back at this area. Now, this is what I was expecting for US 30. When it got to this area before it broke out of this buy zone, I was expecting it to hit this buy zone and then maybe, oh snap. And maybe do one of these numbers, either come to the high of the gap or test all the way into it, something to this effect, or maybe even create support. That's what I was expecting. So I was surprised that price did push up like as high as it did, but I did factor that in. And what I mean is that I kind of count the pips based off the week or based off the day, right? So you look at the amount of pips that last week covered, that was 19,700. You know what I'm saying? I'm just rounding up. But you might as well say that that's close to 20,000, right? Before a pullback, before some type of pullback. And then what we are currently right now, 18,000, close to 19,000 as far as like the pip count. And for the next week, we should expect either a pullback, unless this candle is going to keep riding high, or what we could have is like what I was expecting, or what I was kind of anticipating, the market pull back, close this candle like as like a partial buy with a medium body, and then like leave a wick. I'm hoping that doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying? Well, I'm gonna try to stop refraining using the word hope, because I made a statement this morning that hope don't do a damn thing in this market. You know what I'm saying? You better be confident and somewhat sure of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Don't be like cocky, but be in between. I call it cockfident. You know what I'm saying? Because you like cocky and confident at the same time. Uh, what was I gonna mention? Yeah, if you've been following my channel, you see we've been tracking this down. Even on the sell side, we was tracking this shit down. So, like, I'm very confident that we're seeing exactly what we want to see. We just gotta. The thing is that that move that happened on Tuesday, that shit was so aggressive. I have to believe that the market is still like bullish and not trying to do a pullback. What I think may happen is that, because think about this logically, for indices, in order for it to like pull back, it has to go high, like or like in order for it to do a correction off of the buy side, it tends to have to go higher. You know what I'm saying? So if we're looking at price to come back here, we should go higher first, in theory. You know what I'm saying? We should go higher first and then want to come back to test this, because what that would do is anybody that was a late buyer that's like, oh man, I think that the market is bullish and they're buying up here, the market is recognizing that. So it's like, okay, we have a bunch of buyers here. Now we're gonna, collapse the market. I'll give you, like, let's say we go up here, you know what I'm saying? We actually buy up from here, right? We get up here and everybody, late buyers are like, oh man, I'm about to miss the market, dude. Like it is buying, or they were waiting for some other form of confirmation, right? And then the market hits you with one of these numbers. That's definitely a trap setup that I could possibly see. Now, I'm not trying to like confuse anybody's bias or get you get you like scary in your approach. Hold on. But you have to be open-minded to something like this being like happening, you know what I'm saying? Because it puts you in preparation. So it's like, even if you take a loss or you make a mistake or whatnot, and it's like, oh shit, this market is coming down, you can cut your losses early, but then have a position set up for a possible buy if the market was to react like this. I just like thinking from this scenario, not to the point where it clouds my judgment, but like you got to be open to the possibilities, especially if you're dealing with indices. Like I don't look at the market and say this is certain. I say it should happen based off of XYZ or whatnot, but I still need more information to, be clear on what the decision is. And again, even then, it's still like you got to wait for the market to unfold. So oil yesterday, oil dropped off, right? I was talking about this with my community that I expect oil. Now I'm not talking about oil because I'm about to trade it. I'm not. More so, I was looking at it on the investing side. But I mentioned that oil will probably like after it made these highs and finally we actually tested this wick right here. So that was good to close out like a candle, add structure to basically missing information. You might as well say a wick is like missing information or missing money. So the fact that oil did this, I'm not thinking that oil's trying to sell. What I think that oil's going to do, I think that for these next couple years, because we're already pretty high on like gas, I think that oil's going to range for like the next couple years, fluctuating between these numbers until probably the electric vehicle run. I believe that this is the move to basically promote people purchasing electric vehicles by the masses and it becomes normal versus like only a couple people have like electric vehicles. So if we look at it, uh, it should want to come back here because there is a gap. So we could see it return back to like 68 dollars a barrel, possibly, but only because there's a gap. I don't know how oil always works in orientation to gaps, but we'll see how. So if we look at the structure, let's just say this is the range that oil would probably stay with. So what you're looking at is that, we have our sell from yesterday, and then that looks like a gap right there. So oil might try to, if it doesn't push down from here, might try to push up, and then we have all this movement. I don't know what it's going to do, but I'm just giving you the concept or the visuals from like what it might do, then do one of these numbers and then do that. You know what I'm saying? And that could take 2 years from now, which that's what it's looking like what's going to happen. So we're going to have those fluctuations with oil, which is obviously going to influence the behavior of S&P, NASDAQ, and US 30. So when we see chaos going on between the big three indices, it's probably due to influence by oil. Now, if this war ends, we may be changing our bias because the market may end up getting settled. But again, I live like my life as a trader, like based off of technicals, and then add the fundamental approach later. So based off the technicals, just from what we've seen, because I've pretty much been mapping out gold, I mean oil. Why am I said, did I say gold? I'm pretty sure I said oil, but I've pretty much been mapping out oil since like 2023. And yeah, I had opportunities, to make money from this. This was the move last year, as you can see, not last year. Was this last year? This was the move starting in 2023. So you can see the downtrend moving, and it was a downtrend until we broke up out of this. So even if oil is going to start having high prices, it's definitely going to have to come back here and collect this because this is market structure. Don't get crazy and start being like, just because somebody said something that can, jolt the market up. The market has to correct itself. And these numbers were, why was I even aiming for these numbers? I was actually aiming for 140. I was actually thinking that oil might head up to 140 to clear this liquidity over here. But as you can see, it looks like it says I'm not trying to hit 140. The max we had was 119. And you can see this move looks very similar. Remember, history repeats itself in the market. So this move with this wick, and then we have a close of a candle, it looks very similar to what happened in 2022. Yeah, in 2022. So we could start to see the decline of oil again, which will be good for gas prices, until we get back to this gap, which again, this is the area we broke out of. So based off of market structure, what you learned in the chart show, price should want to come back here. There's a gap down here. We see that price does fill these gaps, but it does it pretty violently. This gap got filled because price pushed up. But if you look at the gap that the market left down here, it brought just, regular market structure. Even though it seemed chaotic, it brought regular market structure and created this level of support. We had mapped this out, what? In December. We had mapped this out in December. I just didn't know that oil was going to get this aggressively bullish, but who the hell could have been able to predict that we were going to go to war? I mean, if you maybe stay up to date on news like that, but I didn't know that we were going to go to war until, it's like, yo, we're at war. So with the behavior of oil, it's obviously going to influence the behavior of indices. So as we start to see oil, if oil is going to react the same way we saw in 2022, we should start to see oil. I mean, we should start to see indices start to rise in response to oil pushing down. If that makes sense. That should make sense. If you're a trader, that should make sense. If you're not a trader, still learning, you're like, how's that happening? You know what I mean? Maybe something to this effect. Like almost identical to what we saw like over here. You see how that move is, brought down, market got brought up. This will allow the corrective moves necessary. So that doesn't mean that indices is about to just straight go up. It'll go up, oil gets bullish, that brings down indices until the market actually breaks out of its area. So you can see right here, this trend was a downtrend, but then we broke up out of that. So we do know that oil's bullish, but the way it broke out, it should want to come back and test these areas. And guess what? It's probably going to take years to do that. And I wouldn't say like a decade, but again, this is 2022. We're in 2026, so that's 4 years. I guess that's not that bad. Yeah, I guess that's not that bad. And this move was 2023, so 3 years ago. So if we're looking based off of like what data is showing us, then we'll just have to say that okay, from anywhere from 3 to 4 years, we should see oil respond this way because that's what the past has told us. So unless new information where oil is starting to get like bullish faster and stuff, then yeah, we'll probably spend like the next like I said, 3 to 4 years pushing down before we actually have a buy back up. So gas prices will probably slowly decrease. And then I am possibly when the next president comes in, that'll be his false promises. Oh, gas is going to be down when we see that gas is already going down. I don't know. That's just me just speculating. That's not really important. But yeah, I'm considering this for oil. And the reason why I'm even talking about oil is because like I said, its impact to indices. So with everything that oil is doing, it's obviously, making indices either fall or rise, yada yada yada. So we have 7 minutes until opening bell. Like I said, what we normally expect for opening bell is the market to be brought down when we're looking for buys. So when we're looking for buys, if you pull out your EMA, I really only care about using the 21 because that's like the overall trend. So if we scale out to a higher time frame, we can see that on the 4 hour R21 EMA, which other people have like a 18 or I don't know what you use for your overall trend, but you understand we're talking the same language when it comes to using your EMA. If you use the three, I have different numbers, but I know they're still somewhat in correlation to other people numbers. It's just whatever other traders use, right? But my 21 is at 47, 47,281, right? So I can put an alert down there to see if price does push down. But like I said, this is our buy zone. So I give myself room, room for error. If this is our buy zone, but opening bell possibly could bring us down, you definitely want to use proper risk management and have like, you know, an open mind for room for error. Now, because I'm using proper risk management, if it does push down here or anything low based off of market structure, then I could just buy at these lower positions. You know what I'm saying? That's my expectation, but everything is, kind of predicated on what happens today because the one thing that I've noticed as a trader, yo, over anticipating the pullback. How many times have you like, oh man, this thing is probably selling down back to where I want to buy it. You press the sell button, you make, you're in a little bit of profit, but you're for sure that price is going to come back down here. Then it doesn't. Opening bell happens or news happens drops at 10 a.m., whatever the case may be. Because regardless, opening bell is still going to have a reaction. But what settles the market is like anything pretty much after 10. You know what I'm saying? Is that guaranteed? No, but it's more reliable than trying to say what the direction is before opening bell. Feel me? I like how S&P is looking. This was our buy. Like we talked about this on basically last week that we said that this was our buy zone. Yes, price dropped lower 2 Sundays ago, but we were saying that this was our buy zone. Once price made that gap this week, and then we tested that gap, that's what pretty much Tuesday did. Sunday gap down, gave us support structure. Then Tuesday brought us back to that support, and that's where we got that bull run from. So that's why I'm like, price is probably, even though with this gap, I'm like, price is probably not coming back down here yet. You know what I'm saying? We'll probably get buyers comfortable, and then there'll be some news for price to do that, and then have like a negative reaction, and then bring the market down. Now, we are at the high point of this pattern when it comes to S&P. So if you remember, we were talking about consolidation downward. Let me clear this up. Like consolidation moving downward or upward, that you're not just finding the, like, this is the regular form of consolidation. So anywhere you see that I have orange, you see that that's the regular form of consolidation, which is the sideways movement that most traders are used to. But when you start, moving forward in your journey, getting deeper into the chart, you start noticing, oh shit, consolidation can actually move downward or upward while still maintaining that form. And then a pattern could be presented from this. So when we identify the pattern, our expectation normally is that if we're selling off, if this isn't the end of the sell and price still wants to sell, which this was a big move. So I already said that I believe that this was the end of the sell. We should see price either want to, it didn't start selling at this low, so that already violated the sell. You know what I'm saying? We said that if it's gonna sell, price should want to sell right here. Straight blew through that, and then our next option for if price was gonna sell, it had to test within the pattern. So, and what I mean is that I could show you with US 30. So look at US 30 real quick because it did the opposite of what I was showing you with S&P. So look, US 30 was consolidating upward, a pattern that we've definitely seen over and over and over before, right? So it pushes up, well, it consolidates, and then what I was talking about, we needed price to test either into the high or back into the pattern. Let's invert this so you can see like it from the selling side. So you see consolidation broke low, tested the high. This is the high, but we're looking at it inverted, like as if price was selling. And then we continue down, you know what I'm saying? Now, because of this test, we should see price continue pushing down. If it does, if it starts pushing back up, like back to these levels, then price is probably going to violate this pattern and start continuing to sell. But again, that's just like the what if. I'm not saying that as if that's what's going on, but again, when you start seeing those signs, you have to be, like I said, you have to be open-minded and have like parameters set or rules that's like, oh, if price violates this or do this, then yeah, I know that price may be doing X, Y, Z. You know what I'm saying? All right, we about to have open bell here shortly. Remember, if it pushes down, to me, that's a sign that we're still trying to buy up because that's how it happened yesterday anyway. No, no, not yesterday, the day before. So. 3 seconds. All right. I like seeing what it does like on the smaller time frames. And remember, we're in Q2, so our expectation should be like buyers in the market, but just know that price is gonna try to manipulate you, get you comfortable with like entering either high or maybe not entering at all because you're waiting for more confirmation from your buyers, and then your move takes off on you. You know what I'm saying? Do we have any more news coming out? Let's see. So we're already seeing signs that price is trying to push down. Which to me, that's a good sign if I'm looking for buys. So it does look like we're trying to push down to I mean, we haven't done anything yet, but like I said, if it does push down, this is like the area that I'm looking at, or where prices has created a gap off of Tuesday. But I don't know if we're ready to come back to test the gap with Tuesday, so we'll see. It's definitely building resistance right now, but this is after the Sydney session. So we have to still see if price is just basically consolidating because that's normally what Sydney and Tokyo do in order to push the market back up. That's really what I'm leaning towards. Or if Trump says something, let me look at my FX book real quick. And yeah, if you thought it was gonna be like flashy trading, you know what I'm saying? Like that's not how this market works. You spend a lot of time like waiting for the boring shit to happen, you know what I'm saying? Being patient, and then the celebration comes, like especially I mean with Tuesday. Especially Tuesday. It basically since last Sunday, you know what I'm saying? Like since last Sunday, we've been in a celebratory mood because like price has been buying up. And what's important is that not that it's been buying up like, oh, well, you could have made money on a sell. It's buying up around the time that we expect price to buy up, which is around quarter two. You normally expect price to start getting bullish around quarter two. All right, let's see. So yeah, we have next high impact news. So we've already cleared all the volatile news for today. So the next thing for as far as for the United States, everything after this is low impact, which again still will have some influence to the market because any form of news is just the volatility, you know what I'm saying? Now, I haven't watched Bloomberg today besides this morning, so if they said something like Trump is having a conference or something, that could definitely change the conditions of the market. So pay attention to that stuff as well. But yeah. S&P well, NASDAQ is showing us signs that it wants to push up. I always find that NASDAQ is doing its own thing before like the other indices. You know what I'm saying? Like whether it's selling or buying, like NASDAQ is like, I'm gonna just kind of do what I want and then make my decision either slightly before US 30 or S&P or a little bit after. So these are the signs I definitely want to see. But like I said, we want to clear the day. We want price to clear this, but you see how it's like stalling out? It's allowing both buyers and sellers to have conflicting views now. You know what I'm saying? So what Price is doing is trying to one lure in a seller, and it may even like jolt down, you know what I'm saying, to give you confidence that, oh man, this thing is definitely selling, and then ride this bitch back up. But I don't think that's happening. It doesn't matter what I think, but also on the buying side, get you comfortable buying right here, and then make you a skeptic by pushing the market down because now the market recognizes all these buyers in here. So far, so good. I like what I'm seeing. But yeah, we're gonna have to wait for a price to make up its mind. It's a lot of, especially on the smaller time frame, it's a lot of fight back and forth. I don't know what's being discussed. I'm probably gonna have to jump on Bloomberg, but this is my buy zone, and I told y'all if there was the possibility of price pushing down, where we should target based off of the EMA. I know that price would go a little bit lower, possibly, but we have that gap there. And if you just draw a fib to it, so you see our potential entry point if price was to come back down here would be between the 238 and the 382, which signifies like pretty strong momentum if you ask me. Um, Not to mention if we went any lower, this would be the high. So all that would make sense if price decided to shoot down here. But based off of what we're seeing, it's slow. And this tends to normally be what the buy does. Like be slow, get you like confused because it's like it's so slow that it looks like it may present like a sell or if you were selling the opposite, you know what I'm saying? But this is where I feel confident about the buys because it's slow. You know what I'm saying? We've been bullish. even though we didn't have a pullback into the area that we would like, we'll probably get that next week, if not like another week later, where we can take advantage of another opportunity because I don't think that we're going to just straight be bullish from here. It'd be dope if we clear the high, but we'll just have to see. I don't write the rules to trade, and I just follow the trend. Also, something I wanted to point out before we close this session, I'm gonna mention Bitcoin real quick, but for all my traders that I can't do it without distorting, like because I already have markups. But do y'all see what I see? The possibility? Let me go ahead and point it out for traders who use this. I don't use this because I suck at identifying that. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder, inverse, right? Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Y'all following me? I hope y'all following me. If not, I mean, we're about to see. I don't rely on that. And normally when I think I see that, I actually go against it and be like, because I just suck at identifying head and shoulders, inverted head and shoulders, whatever the case may be. So this definitely looks like the potential of an inverted head and shoulder. But I don't know if this is the right shoulder. This could be part of the head and then the right shoulder could try to come back down again, which would make sense because there's a gap here. You know what I'm saying? So let's just see how price plays out. I'm still bullish, even if we push down. All that to me would be like market structure because we broke out of this high. We even have a gap here. We have yet to test this high. Momentum is strong, still to the upside, besides this 4 hour. But if you look at the daily, we're still strong to the upside. So yeah, I'm gonna see how price reacts today, traders. Um, I've felt like this was going to be like a consolidation for a continuation. Because remember, how many times have you been in the market and saw like price either whatever currency pair you're trading, saw a price either selling or buying up, and it's like strong momentum, and you're like, there's no way this thing is going to keep going either up or down without no type of pullback, and it just keeps doing it, yo. And the only form of pullback it does is a correction by consolidating. So me, I'm factoring this as this is probably the correction that the market wants to do, buy up, and then maybe try to, be sneaky and collect liquidity on this side after buying up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we're already seeing Nasdaq and S&P. Nasdaq is still kind of like the funny one to me, but I don't trade Nasdaq, but I use it for investment purposes. But again, like I said, anything that US 30 is doing, I'm convinced that S&P and Nasdaq are doing. And we're already seeing S&P, show that, it's trying to push up. So I don't know what news the market is waiting for it to get bullish, but to me, it looks like we got the signs we see. Remember, I talked about there's a possibility of price either shooting up and coming down on the opposite side, or if whatever news that we have left over or Trump says something could definitely bring the market. Remember, he said yesterday, um, possibly 100%, no, 50% tariffs on like countries that ally with Iran. So I don't know if that's like priced in or that's going to take effect. But if it does, then that's the negative news we needed for like some type of pullback. So if we're up here and we get that type of news, I'm only thinking that we're coming back to the high or to test where we broke out of here immediately. Now, he says something greater than 50%. Yeah, we could have a move where price pushes back up here and sell all the way back down here to take out all these buyers right here and then buy back up. Make sense? I think it makes sense. You got to be vigilant and, combative on these charts. But that's all I got today, traders. I'm gonna, and like pretty much analyze, my trades. I'll update my own community. So for YouTube, you guys will see this until the weekly review. That's when you'll be able to, well, everybody's able to see this live. So you'll be able to see this today. But um, As far as like the updates, as far as me addressing updates, I'll do that obviously on the weekly review. But like I said, I believe this is the buy zone. Looks like I'm not lying, but we'll have to see for price to wait for price to do what it's due. But I'll catch everybody on the next video with Digital Goats Academy. I'm Antoine.